Okay. Once again, super quick comment here. Comment. So I am actually thinking about the historical sense with is the only way to be a normal person, to be intellectual, to have a real connection with God, and to be seen by God and be given a good opportunity for a good life. So, this is why I choose Buddha, because I also choose Asia. Asia, as I said, has a lot of intellect. And it has many forms of philosophy. And historically, you have what is here in the mind is curiosity, right? And for me, I find it fascinating. I find it fascinating that there's been times where there are smart people, okay, in Asia. And this living so thin, and at the same time, right, Buddha creating the hardest shell piece possible. Here, let me explain a little bit, okay? So you have this person who was born with these senses, this awareness. I can feel a lot. I feel my surroundings because my cells decided to open up more often than other people, and I'm more aware of it. Some people might call that a form of OCD. In any of these senses. So you have someone that is attuned to certain levels of energy that is being introduced to the body, and you have a level of eye perception of what you take in. So your visual level. You have your hearing, what you are attuned to hearing for perception. You have your tastes, right? This creates class. The type of class. And what you are tasting and applying to your life. What else is there? This, eyes, okay, tactile stuff, being able to hold on to something, how far you can use it outside, so how strong your body is. Those type of senses, okay? So this creates your intuition and what they call the sixth sense mind. It is your intuition, you being assertive and confident in yourself to be able to accomplish something. And so confident in yourself that you don't have to think about about it. You just act, you react, you perceive maybe at a other time to think about and reflect, but now you have the ability to perceive just for a moment, already know what you need to do, how to behave, what you want, because you've already thought about it. You've already practiced disciplined reflection and not the reflection part, but the actions. So that's what the sixth sense or the enlightened mind is. Mainly a second metaphor to Sane. So where your head's at is where you're headed, or what you perceive. It's like still helping you in a sense to know where you're at. The worst that I would take it to being blind, right, would be like sports. Like literally like that level of being like, I'm faking, I'm in soccer teams juking, or in basketball, what is it called? I don't know, I'm just gonna call it a fake out. And, so, you're convincing that you're headed one way when you're gonna throw the ball behind your back to someone that's over there. And it's a strategic level to create a different path that you mentally, conceptually already know exists, but you can't arrive there unless you create a small path in reality and follow it, but still know where that loophole is and know the right timing to be able to get as close to or accurately the time you need to be able to change paths. So that would be walking without a head. You obviously have pre-decided, pre-planned, and you know how many steps you can go forward without falling. So it's fascinating to me. It's so fascinating to me because a Buddhist would technically be the most OCD person that could only live the rigidest robotic life with some other religions that are super strict in their discipline, and if it goes beyond the method of improving your life and it becomes a lifestyle, then it really is very stick and sewn lifestyle type of way of eventually, seriously, the way your brain thinks and the way you perceive outside, and just very, 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 very OCD. Buddha would have turned into the statue as much as the Europe old-style Catholics express much of statue work and say, hey, our last farewell advice is not to stay in stone, so we created this very, very intrinsic, different form of like gargoyles are in different stances, their faces, their body. And when it changes to other animals or different people in artwork of statue, they also present different forms of behaviors, where you don't have to just stay in some anxiety panic. So you have Asia, right? Asia, which again I find fascinating, because there is the example. There is the example. In Europe, you know so many names, and you know how they behaved and for what reasons and all this stuff. That is part of the culture, like teaching here history of each president. In Asia, that contradicts itself. It contradicts itself, and it's not possible. When it has been possible, it has become a time, a reign of destruction and dictatorship. And so because it is spiritual practice versus Europe, which is behavior application, and it doesn't necessarily have to be deep rooted in spiritual truth. They just kind of hand over a manual and a culture already with strict rules. So it's basically accepting in the terms that some cultures have strict rules that you're born into, and some don't necessarily. Asia, right? So Asia is very, very spiritual. A very spiritual place. And like I said, with very intellectual people. And Buddha, who reincarnates, and when I say reincarnates, I mean the discipline needed, the discipline endurance, not necessarily not the person, not even necessarily not the person, not the personality, because we know now that there are multiple lifestyles and personal preferences, so much to developing different people. If culture isn't already a indicator that someone from a different culture is going to behave and act in a different personality than someone else from a different culture. So, once again, Asia. So, I find it fascinating. Oh, thank you again for my short commentary. I find it fascinating that these people are able to be what Buddha means, exists, right? A discipline, someone who has the endurance and the strength to follow the spiritual path. And I can't really provide the exact the exact decisions or behaviors because each Buddha has been different, which creates a different point of history for Asia. And Asia respects these Buddha times that they have kept their memory and level of respect in the culture of Asia. Obviously, human times, war, and loss of records and movements to keep records and all those things have been a part of, like everywhere else in this world, this globe, part of how certain human lives develop. But we're talking about history, not just in behavior, but in spiritual collection and intellectual record. So there's Buddha, right, who has this inner will, this discipline to hold that level of importance, to not only keep, right, to just collect information, to just be like a vase with all this information. No, Buddha's smarter. Buddha says, what I know, I know. And because what I know, what you present to me, I will know what is true and what is not. What is right, what is wrong. So there's this hard shell, right? Because already in those terms, if you succeed, you're already this respected person who is seen a bit more, and in some places a lot more, than an everyday person who has almost only skin and bone to them. So Buddha is here. Buddha is a tough shell. But Buddha went as far to explain in mysterious, only at those times, that location, a perception that he is not God. He is not even a higher being. He is not a higher human being, a demigod, or whatever other terms are associated now with higher intellect. And he explains terms of humility and action. Humility, and when something provokes that humility to take action. And that action has to align with terms of survival. And that becomes morality, terms of morality, because people from different places place the meaning of morality in different stages. So someone might think that something is necessary and still call it moral, and for that group of people it is a good thing, where in a different form of morality that is perceiving this behavior is going to maybe be shocked or horrified or angry because their terms of morality is different. So now you have Buddha. You have Buddha and Buddha's manifestation of morality. And that's one thing, right? Morality. And then the use of personal will and how it looks like is a different part of Buddha. And then you have the active existence of Buddha when unaware. So if you have seen the little modern statue that's becoming super popular here in the United States of an elephant, an Indian elephant named Ganesh, and Ganesh has his trunk and his hands and different representations of meaning or philosophies of knowledge. And so this is a concept that information, and I would like to think that it's organized information. It's not just everywhere, however people think Ganesh is, but organized information, like a actual true level of consciousness, true consciousness in correct sequence. That would be Ganesh's help, service to humanity, to be able to have that concept of consciousness, right? Consciousness. Truth consciousness captured here in human existence. So now you have Buddha, and Ganesh is practically roaming around above his head, above him, helping him. Because, as I said, Buddha understands that he understands that he cannot exist without the greater, not the people, God. And Ganesh, the concept given from God to Buddha in Ganesh is almost like what people here would call a mentor in a saint, or would call some people here would call that concept a guide, a spiritual guide. And I mean, the elephant isn't real, okay? So Ganesh is not a specific elephant somewhere with all these special powers. it is a representation of a molded, organized level of truths. Again, elephants are very smart and have big brains, a big memory. And you have Ganesh, the elephant, with a lot of symbols of different information. So you have this everything that Buddha learned is now here, and it is accepted through God, because think about it. All this information could be crashing down on Buddha if he stepped out of his discipline. And God is true, and God is not always a savior. So you still have that other side where, once again, Buddha has to be aware of, right? In this line of, okay, I need to know my boundaries and limits, because like this Ganesh, I am only this much, and my consciousness is still active, and it's still going to behave in its own entity. So if Buddha was not awakened and Buddha was not enlightened, then he would be a chaotic person. Buddha would have become a chaos to himself. And this awareness with this discipline and following the disciplined life saves him. And in doing so, it creates this big echo to believers, to those in similar spiritual awakening lifestyles, that they have a soul, they have something more than just being born in this life for some reason and then becoming some form of atheist or really, really sad agnostic that kind of just believes that they have no will and that God is making all decisions. So, way to go, Asia. Because you can exist in 3 forms. You still have your natural intellect. You still are a person, a human, truly, fully given, surrendered to God. And because of your history of achievement through Buddha and Buddha time, you can walk free or have the choice or option to walk free alongside a life you know you cannot hide from, a life you cannot run from. And as much as you have of information with those natural senses, you also have an actual strength that is also both body and mind. I'm not gonna make some stupid ninja comment or your samurai comments. Y'all are very smart people. And you need Buddha, because then it's a free-flowing, chaotic Ganesh. And there you go. You have your cosmos and your constellations. You got your constellations in Buddha and free-flowing, right, concept Ganesh if those constellations were not there. Or on the opposite side, if there weren't that form of Ganesh, then how would Buddha have found itself?
Food's in the fridge.
Those constellations.
Add cheese.
Thank you. So there. And yeah. There. Oh, here is a super cool picture. I mean, it's not Buddha, but it's the concept of either free-flowing or truly having to hold on to deep structure and the right place, the right time, and learning how to find a little fun in it. Okay, here is that. And then be able to find gentle ways to experience the joy in those fun times.